Hi, and welcome back to Pathway to Profit with me, Greg, and I'm joined by the other Greg again.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Today, we would like to elaborate a little bit on some of the things we spoke about, specifically when we spoke about the mini budget, and talk about more about controls. It's something that you're going to hear us mention a fair bit when we talk about these podcasts. So with these podcasts, as we mentioned in a previous episode, we're going to do a number of things. We're going to take you through the pathway to profit to help you grow your company. We're going to talk about some specific areas of tax, some ones that we feel will help you to grow your business and are going to help you in that area, and talk about some key events that are happening, a bit like the mini budget. And we thought a good thing to start off with would be controls. It's something that you're going to hear most likely quite often from us, as it is something we do value quite highly. And we just want to make sure that people understand, people know what we're talking about, and give them a couple of examples so that they can think about their own business and how they can kind of think about what they can introduce into what they're, especially when you're struggling with certain things. So, Greg, if you would like to just give us a brief overview on what we're talking about when we think about controls and everything, that would be much appreciated.
Sure, no problem. I mean, what I thought I would do when you asked me to think about this, and I gave it some thought during the day as to kind of what can I talk about, how do I talk about it, and most importantly, how do I make it actionable and help people? And so I want to kind of really emphasize that and start with that. I'm gonna be brief, but I want to make it so that it's actionable and action oriented. And I think the best way to do that is really I think the easiest way for me anyway, is if you start with your customer and then work all the way backwards through whatever you do. So it could be that you make boxes. It could be that you provide consulting services. It could be that you run a shop. Whatever that is, you have a customer, you engage with that customer. You do something prior to that to have the opportunity to engage with that customer. Once you engage with the customer, they buy from you. Once they buy from you, you either produce something and give it to them, or you sell them something that you've bought in, or you're doing something for them. But there's this process which goes, from just before you got the customer, you get the customer, all the way through to when you've delivered to the customer. And then behind that is key elements of cash. So, you maybe spend something to buy stock if you have a shop, or you raise an invoice for the customer to pay you, and ultimately that feeds back to the profit equation, right? And let's remember what that is. Sales minus cost equals profit. It's really no more complicated than that, but it is as complicated as that. So what I would say in terms of control, start with the elements of how do I even start a conversation with a customer, right? My lead process. How effective is that? What can I measure? How do I measure it? And how do I measure its effectiveness? Once I'm then talking to a client, how successful am I at getting them to buy from me? And there's some key metrics like bid to win ratio, and the process called opportunity management. But think about how effective am I at getting people to convert to my customer? And so that's two metrics, right? And I try and limit yourself to 3 to 5 metrics because you can remember that. And then once you've done that, and so you understand how effective you are at getting leads, how effective you are at converting clients, then think about whatever your biggest cost element is. If it's stock, think about how do I control stock? If it's making something, it would be how effective is my factory or something like that. And if it's you delivering something, then it's how effective am I using my time? And I'd come up with some simple metric just to try and measure that effectiveness. Then I would move to the bank and I would ask myself, how long does it take me to get paid versus how long do I pay someone? Just really simple kind of comparison. And I'd look at where is my bank account, and is most of my money in my bank account, or is it in people who owe me money in their bank account? In other words, my money is in somebody else's pocket. And so I'd kind of look at the ratio between that. So whether you choose 3, 5, and I've given you 5 there, right? So just to reiterate, I've given you how effective are your leads, number 1. How effective is your sales, number 2. Number 3, how do you manage the costs that you drive, whether it's your time, whatever, right? Number 4, how do you get your money into your bank, and so I would think about 3 to 5 metrics that you can easily measure, and I would start like that. I would really kind of think about that process as you go through. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I would do.
Oh, thank you for sharing. And yeah, on the controls, it's really just looking at what areas of your business are holding you back, are where are the pressure points coming from, and then trying to come up with both metrics to measure it and actions to solve it, and to try and use that information to ultimately improve your profit, cash, and then ultimately the value of your company. Would you add anything to that?
No, I just say that, getting the discipline of looking at quarterly management accounts, for example, behind that, there may be things that you want to look at on a monthly basis or a weekly basis. And, those will be different things, and they'll have different sources and different levels of accuracy, right? Roughly right is better than exactly wrong. So I just say, just think about what you're looking about, how accurate it has to be in order for you to know. And something like cash in your bank and setting a target for that, it's a pretty easy one, because most of us have an app with our bank balance, and just say, if I've got 100 in my bank today, I want 110 next week, or whatever that is. And, so I'd keep it to pretty easy metrics. That's what I would do.
And then the other thing, you mentioned it when you were talking earlier, but trying to keep a manageable amount. You're not going to solve 100 things at once. I was watching an interview with Lampard when he was talking about his time at Chelsea, and he said the problem was he was trying to solve 100 different things when it was going wrong, and in the end he solved none of them, and that's ultimately what led to his getting sacking. He really wished he was just focused on 1 or 2 key areas, got them right, and then trusted the process to get up and running, work on the others later on, knowing where to prioritize. And I'd say it's the same with business. It's about knowing where are your key areas, where do you want to focus? If you try and do 100 different things, you're going to be spread too thin, and ultimately you're not going to get as far as if you just try and get those key ones done, and you're going to see as probably better results because you're doing those ones properly rather than a lot not so properly.
Yeah.
So that would be the other thing I would emphasize from what you said earlier.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I wouldn't overcomplicate it. I'd keep it simple, keep it on point. Like I said, rewind the video, go back, listen to the list that I gave, and then think about it yourself. It's not a one size fits all. You do have to think, so that is something you have to bring to the table. You have to actually think about your business, and if you struggle, try and work with somebody who's on your side. That's where I think you guys at my where my controller comes in, is that you're on the side of the client, and so get somebody who's on your side and will be more than, will challenge you, will be the conscience of the company and help you filter it down. And I think that, if you don't have that, then either seek it out or at the very least, come up with your own list and bring discipline to look at it. If you don't, that's the other thing that nobody can do for you. If it's something that you say you're going to look at every week, say cash and bank, don't not look at it because you don't think the answer is going to be what you want it to be. You got to look at it and then ask yourself, how do I change the answer? Right. That's the job. But I would just get into that, ignore the noise. Like, I think we said before, in the marketplace. Focus on your customers, focus on your staff, focus on your suppliers, try and think community, but operate with some discipline, and just have 3 to 5 things that you think is going to make a bit of a difference, to your business. And that's what I would do. I would start with the customer, work through your process, and think kind of process oriented, initially. And I think there's things we can add to that later, but for the sake of kind of achieving 2 things, which is what I think you called out, let's kind of keep it brief and let's keep it action oriented. I think we've probably given enough for people to take some actions, draw up their own list. And hey, if you've drawn up a list of what you think you're going to measure, make some comments or get in touch with Greg and he'll help you think them through. What's the worst thing? You're going to meet up with Greg and you're going to get a cup of coffee and you guys are going to talk about something that might just change the answer to what you're getting in terms of profit. So that's what I would do.
And obviously, as we go through these podcasts, we will also be giving other examples, talking about other areas where controls can come in. We also have a workbook that people can go through to help them think about it and to help them to get into that right frame of mind. But as always, it was I'm very grateful for you to come on and help talk about these things. And
I'm happy to help.
Thank you for taking time out.
As I think I said before, as long as you'll have me back and I'm not crowding the place, I'm always happy to come and at least share some of my thoughts. I hope they help you. I hope they help some other people. Please leave comments below. Please like and subscribe. I'm sure Greg would love that. Be nice. Let's be nice.
Absolutely. And thank you for listening. And again, thank you for taking time out. Have a nice rest of the day. Bye.
You too. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.